Hello everyone, it's Nen from Insightful Vibrations. Thank you so much for tuning into our channel. Thank you for subscribing and thank you for liking and sharing the videos. It means a lot to me. So we are here July 31st to August 6th. Wow, where did time fly? Well, that can be explained by Uranus being in Aries. And it won't go into Taurus until partway through 2018. So that means time will seem like it's fleeting the whole period that's left while Uranus is transiting the constellation Aries. What else is happening this week? Well, let's start with the astrology first, and then we'll put the time in the notes section when the astrology ends, so you don't have to listen to it repeatedly. And then we'll get to the zodiac sign. You know, you need to watch the videos for your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign, because these collectively will get you a more comprehensive picture or outlook on the week ahead. And, you know, so once you've watched this whole astrology piece here, with some wisdom from the Buddhism reading cards briefly. Then we'll get to the zodiac sign. You do not have to watch this first piece. Just check the notes section on the bottom. It'll tell you how long I've been talking for, and you can skip that and just go to the balance of the video for the next zodiac sign that you need to watch. So I hope that's clear. And remember, please, that not all comments apply to all people, because there are millions and millions and millions of Aries people and Sagittarians and so on. We cannot, in a general reading, speak to everyone's issues precisely, because those would require an individual reading with the birth time, birth city, and birth date known. But we can make generalizations based on the planetary transits, based on star positions, based on aspects or angles that are formed by stars and planets and asteroids and everything else that carries energy, which is everything else. So this is the part of the reading, of course, that applies to all of us. And we are here in Stony Creek, Ontario, Canada. So any specific time references will, you know, apply to us here. If you are in a time zone that is a day away, you'll have to account for that by, you know, calculating what day that would apply in your area. So thank you very much to everyone worldwide who's watching this. This is great. Now, what's happening first of all is that we start the week off with, you know, Monday, the sun being in Leo, of course, a nice happy sign, a sign of leadership, courage, drama, a sign of, you know, theatrics, a sign of children, a sign of love. So it's a beautiful, fiery sign that's just a joy. So that is one good thing. But we have the moon in Scorpio, which causes a little bit of, you know, seclusion, maybe a little bit of mystery. Sometimes it helps us to meditate, be silent, go within. So that's a, you know, a part of the week where some of you will enjoy that bright and sunny, cheerful Leo piece, and some of you will just feel more in tune with yourself, your inner self, and you may just opt to stay home alone or work on things that, you know, involve scorpionic kind of activities, solving mysteries or reading a mystery book, or even doing divination or, you know, meditation, mediumship, etc. Well, we also get into, you know, some interesting aspects here with Venus entering Cancer as well on Monday, and that basically is forming a whole lot of, you know, a whole lot of lovey-dovey kind of feelings, and especially because the asteroid Ceres, the goddess of hearth and home, actually is right next to Venus, tucked right in there, and both of them are in Cancer, one at 2 degrees, one at 10 degrees, but they're very close, and creating that cuddliness. So a lot of you may feel that, you know, things are very cuddly and wonderful, especially in your closest home type of relationships. But there's also a lot of you that will find some turbulence because, you know, not every relationship is perfect, and some of you are going through that, you know, Pluto retrograde relationship evaluation piece, where up until the third week of September, things that aren't going to work, no matter how much effort is put in, are just going to fail. So, you know, some of you are still struggling with that, unfortunately. But we also have some, you know, really, you know, wonderful kite energies you know, a kite. It looks just like a kite when you draw all the lines. A beautiful trine energies between Ceres, which is the goddess of hearth and home, as I mentioned, Pallas, which is the goddess of wisdom, and Mercury, of course, our intellectual planet, a planet of communication, as well as Juno, the you know, goddess of all things that are grand. So this is a really nice supportive sort of trine energy, and that's going to last for a few days into the week. So you basically have a very, very nice time where you can have great social events, where you can you know, have nice meetings. If you have difficult issues to discuss, this is a good energy. And then we get into, you know, more tense energies on August 3rd, and that is Thursday, August 3rd. And what happens here first and foremost is that Uranus goes retrograde. And Uranus is that wonderful electric planet. It's the ruler of Aquarius. It is a planet that is, you know, able to shock, to create newness, to be very forward in its action, very forward thinking, very futuristic, and you know, very much you know, can shake things up. It's sort of the great transformer. It can shake things up where things are stagnant. And you know, oftentimes whatever house you know, this happens to be happening in, when Uranus is retrograde, it will shake that part of you up more than likely. Now, this doesn't have to be a bad shakeup. It could just be that something amazing happens, you know, just as much as something awful. So it just depends. You know, you have to just take it, you know, day by day, and also, you know, be positive and look forward to expecting good things as well. That will help. So when we have Uranus retrograde, where is it in all of your houses? Well, Aries, it's in your first house. Your first house is all about your self-image, how you identify, you know, with yourself. You know, what kind of image do you have? What kind of self-perception? How far off is your perception of yourself to what others are saying to you about how you come across, and so on and so forth. And sometimes when Uranus is in the first house, it could very well mean you end up having this drastic makeover, you know, with respect to how you see yourself or how you project yourself to other people. And Taurus, your Uranus is in your 12th house, which is, you know, that, you know, house of mystery, the house of endings, you know, the house of, you know, the mysterious. And, you know, Taurus, this may mean that something, you know, comes to an abrupt end. And that's okay, because, you know, one door closes, another door opens, and it may be something that you wished to end anyway. So let's be positive about that. Gemini, your Uranus will retrograde in the 11th house, and that means it will affect your friendships, your social circles, also your hopes and dreams. Again, this does not have to be a negative event. It could be that you get a breakthrough, that you get a sudden breakthrough, you know, to do something. Maybe it's a sudden breakthrough. Maybe you meet somebody special that will be a lifelong friend. Maybe a friend you haven't seen for a long time will come forward again, and that will bring joy to you. Or maybe some friends will leave your social circle. You know, it's anyone's guess what will happen exactly without looking at a specific birth chart, but I think that's very, very exciting. So then we have Cancer. Your retrograde Uranus is transiting your 10th house, and that's a house of career and status. So those of you who are looking for a career breakthrough or looking to just end a bad career situation, that's something that may very well affect you here. Libra, you have Uranus retrograde in your 9th house, and that is about legal matters, spiritual matters, higher education, as well as legal matters. Oh, I may have said that already, but also long distance travel and relocation. So those are the areas where you may see some kind of a shock or breakthrough in terms of the activities with Uranus retrograde on August the 3rd and going forward. And for you Virgos, it would affect the 8th house. This is other people's money, money you share with other people. Could be estate money, government money, insurance money. It could be your employer's money. All of those things could be affected by the Uranus retrograde for good or for less good. So Libra, Uranus retrograde is happening to affect your 7th house. This is the house of relationships. These are committed relationships. It could be business or personal. So there may be something shocking or transformative that happens in terms of your closest relationships. Scorpio, Uranus retrograde is happening through your 6th house of work and daily routines and health. So there may be something that happens there that shakes things up. Maybe you'll have to go, and try a new, training program or get a new job, or maybe you'll find, a way to get out of the job you don't like. Perhaps there's, a new breakthrough for a health concern that you've had. All of those things are very possible. And Sagittarians, you have Uranus retrograding in your 5th house, and that's your house of romantic pleasure. It's also a house of games, sports, arts, gambling, as well as small children. So if you have children, you may also find that something happens where there's a breakthrough with them, or something else happens. I don't know. A lottery could definitely be a breakthrough here, so a lottery win is possible. But again, don't go crazy buying tickets, because going overboard for something like that, it does not pay off, since it's always a long shot to win these things. But I'm just saying it is a possibility for some of you at least. Then we have Capricorns, whose 4th house will be impacted by Uranus retrograde, and the 4th house is the house of family and home. We also have, a lot of activity with the 3rd house for all of you Aquarians. And the 3rd house is your house of communication, your house of siblings, neighbors, transportation, and also short trips, short daily trips like commuting and things like that. So there's a lot that could potentially happen, and Aquarians, Uranus is your ruling planet, so you would definitely feel the impact of this on a pretty good basis. So anything can happen, like I said, either a breakthrough or something shocking. Now, the last sign, Pisces of the wheel, you have Uranus retrograde in your 2nd house of earned income. So this may affect how you earn your income. You may find breakthroughs. You may get a promotion. You may get a salary increase you weren't expecting. You may get a bonus. Or you may find some of the reverse happenings, that you suddenly don't have a job or something else happens. But look at everything positively, because when one door closes, the other one opens, and you just have to expect good things to get them. So we have quite a bit going on here, but we also have a lot of fire energy. So, the fixed stars are also telling us that in addition to the fire energy, there's a lot of aspects that will cause for sudden wake-up calls, changes, shocks, and so on. And, Pluto is also, in a square configuration with Jupiter as of August the 4th. So this will be added into the mix. And that means that, there's a lot of progress that can be made, because Pluto also digs deep into things that aren't working well, things that really need to be stirred up, things that need to change as well. So it's a transformer on a different level. So it will be, either dredging up a lot of things that aren't working to be transformed, or it will be, allowing you to work through those things so that you can get the benefits of Jupiter, all that benevolence. And we also have the Moon and Saturn, which is also retrograde in Sagittarius this week. The Moon is also near the galactic center at the moment, also squaring Mars and squaring Chiron. So the Moon's not in a really great position, which means that for some of you anyway, there may be some negative emotion, and these may be people that are affected by some social turmoil, earthquakes, volcanic action, transportation disasters, things like that, that may affect, obviously not everyone in the world, but we all are impacted when we hear about it. We feel horrible about it, but there may be some, of course, that are impacted on a personal level. And this, is also in the face of, Mercury opposing Neptune, which can cause for some liver issues to come up, and that's always an issue when we have this with these stars, because you know, the liver is the seat of emotion. So again, it could cause a little bit of turmoil for somebody. Now, we also have some fixed stars creating a lot of energy on sort of more the world stage, more on a society level, with Uranus being aligned with the great Andromeda Nebula at 27 degrees Aries right now, traveling through to the 28th degrees of Aries. This brings us a lot of courage, a lot of breakthroughs. It allows us to show the way. It allows us to be leaders, especially now with the Sun in Leo. But it can also have a downside. The energies can lead to violence, you know, battles, problems with eyes, ears, or speech can arise under these influences. Sometimes even serial killers have been known to become more prominent under these influences, and I certainly hope none of these happen, but they are the energies that might be possible under this alignment. And the great Andromeda Nebula is a galaxy that's over 2 million light years away, but it is visible by the naked eye on a very clear night. So you can see it in the Pisces direction. Now, it also brings us configuration, transportation disasters, sometimes large-scale famine, and you know, we have other stars that confirm some of these things as well. So I'm not just pointing out things that may be a long shot. These things may actually affect different people in different parts of the world. With Venus, you know, being aligned in Cancer with star set Tejat, we also have a foreboding of earthquakes, floods, fires, epidemics, and even catastrophes that involve natural gas. We have Mars, the planet of war, at 6 degrees Leo, also a fire type of energy, and representing with its connection or alignment with Praesepe, cluster in Cancer, floods, you know, any kind of shoreline or harbor side, riverside, lakeside kind of disasters. Could also represent toxicity, violent deaths, assassinations, riots, shipwrecks, those kinds of things. So it's got a lot of downside, but it's also, you know, a foreboding of somebody great being born, a great warrior, but a warrior for humanity. So this is a good person, someone who, you know, will really help mankind. And, you know, when we talk about Praesepe, it's a cluster on the shield of the crab, the Cancer constellation, and it is often referred to as the gate of mankind, but because it's believed that one's soul has to pass through here to actually become incarnated as a human being. So it's a very significant passage for everyone, apparently. And then we have Neptune in Pisces, traveling from 11 to 15 degrees, aligning powerfully with Satishy. And again, this doesn't bode well for murders, violent intolerance, eruptions of volcanoes, and powerful earth movement. So, unfortunately, we also have the Sun aligning with Minchar at 10 degrees Leo, and that could bring pollution, contamination, fog, storm, again, highlighting transportation mishaps, collisions, crashes, but also aggressive behavior on the roads. So be careful out there. And we have Mercury at 6 degrees Virgo aligning with star set Marusha, which is at the chest of Leo, fire sign. And that means that we may experience storms of incredible intensity. And again, these may not be all in the area in which you live. You may simply hear of them and you know, be struck at how you know, it affects everyone. And also, we're all empaths to a degree, some of us more than others, and that will also be difficult to process when you hear something like this. But we have Jupiter at 16 degrees of Libra aligning with star set Kraz, and that also talks about animal attacks. So if you work with animals, be careful. Or if you're out in the woods somewhere camping, be careful. It also talks about, you know, train issues, train accidents and things like that. But it could also mean wide-scale massacres. I hate to be negative, but I'm just telling you what the stars portend, because I presume you want me to give you a truthful forecast here. Again, this is not going to affect everyone in every part of the world, but it is significant for some. but hopefully we'll be able to dodge, these things with positive thinking and by taking care of ourselves. And then we have Saturn at 20 degrees Sagittarius. Saturn has just left our galactic center. That's the center of our galaxy. And it was transiting that for quite a while, but it's now at 20 degrees Sagittarius. And it is aligning with Warjik, W-A-R-J-I-K, and it's a star that is, talking about dangers with negligence, carelessness, fatigue, errors caused by arrogance or overconfidence, just failure to check things. So please, if you're, in control of anything and you need to check, whether things are okay, please do your due diligence, because this is the kind of thing that can be entirely preventable. But the hazard is that, there will be a tendency to be careless and negligent. And then we have the moon at 22 to 25 degrees Sagittarius, so it's approaching the galactic center at the end of the week. And, this could actually be good, because it may signify peace efforts that may be made, but also it confirms, what some of the other stars are portending, which is earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, explosions, fires, poisoning, chemical problems, etc. So not a very pleasant thing when you look up at the stars, the way they're aligned at this time. But again, astrology teaches us that things happen in waves. We have the good times, we have the bad times, and we have to sort of, work through each cycle as best as we can. And then we have Pluto at 15 to 18 degrees in Capricorn, aligning with the star Vega, and that star set is all about kidnappings and arsons and other nasty items. So really we do have quite a bit to contend with. Then we get into next Monday, the 7th, we start getting into eclipse season, and there are 2 in August, and I will talk about those next week, because this week's forecast is already lengthy. So how do we cope with all this? Well, I put out the Buddhism reading cards here. I've drawn 3 cards from this deck by Sofan Chan. It's a beautifully illustrated deck, and the first card I drew was patience, and patience talks about, really trying to just be still and wait things out, sort of go with the flow and not try to push things, because when you push things, Newton's first law of physics applies. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. And of course, you get this, tug of war, tug of war, tug of war, and it's difficult energy to deal with, and you get more frustrated because nothing's working, because every time you take a step forward and push, you get pushed back, and so on and so forth. So it's better to exercise patience. It's a fine quality. And remember what the Buddha said, at the end of the way is freedom, till then patience. Then we have the middle card is renunciation, and this talks about giving up those things which are no longer useful. And this could relate to possessions. It could relate to emotions. If you're angry and you continue to be angry, guess what? It hurts your liver, it hurts your kidneys, it hurts all kinds of things. And when one organ isn't functioning properly, it doesn't communicate well with another organ, and so on and so forth. So you just create physical problems out of spiritual and emotional issues. So renunciate, means get rid of things that don't serve you well, that are no longer needed, that are no longer serving your higher purpose, your higher evolution. And essentially, this is also to do with relationships that aren't working, jobs that aren't working. I mean, you have to really start making some plans of how you're going to renunciate those struggles that you need to just to stop struggling, because sometimes we struggle and it's just what we end up doing, because we end up enjoying the status quo or not know how to get out of it. So renunciation says, look, just start letting go of those things that aren't useful to you anymore, and things will start to be much better. They'll end up giving you a nice, more neutral platform, rather than one full of emotions that tilt you one way or the other. And then we have the third card, which is energy. And basically this card says that, you have, enough energy to deal with everything that comes at you, but you also have community supports, and this is very important. It's also that, you can remember that, energy work is prayer, it's meditation, It's just being still and listening to your inner intuition. All of those things are reflected by the energy card. And what does that mean? It means that to get through any change period, whether it's a positive or negative period, whether you've just got the biggest breakthrough of your life or you've just got the worst news of your life, you need to remember that to be still is to get insight. To be still is to not act, rashly. To be still is to act with good judgment. And when you can do those things, you will find that no matter what life deals you, you can also, get through it. Remember that with so many planets retrograde right now, Uranus just joining in, Mercury is going retrograde next week. I'll talk about that in my next forecast next week. And, we have Saturn still retrograde, Pluto still retrograde. There's a lot of karmic things happening, meaning you reap what you sow. So if you mete out anger, you're going to get anger at some point coming at you. If you mete out love and kindness and effort, you will get those things coming at you. So thank you for listening to this rather long forecast. I hope it's helpful in helping you to understand the energies that you may have to work with this week. And now on to each individual zodiac forecast, and I will put the time in the notes section so you can skip this part when you watch your sun sign, rising sign, and moon sign, whichever it may be, after you've watched this once. You don't need to watch it twice. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Namaste. Hello, Aries, sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, folks. This is your forecast for the week of July 31st, 2017 to August 6th, 2017, using the Lenormand Gilded Reverie deck. We have drawn 7 cards here. They are the moon, the sun, the staircase, the mountain, the tree, the letter, and the card to the very left is man, and that is a card that signifies the overall preoccupation, issue, or atmosphere. And when we have a person card there, it generally means that there may be a person that's predominantly going to be your concern, or with whom you're going to be spending your time, either thinking about them or being with them or solving some kind of an issue with them. So very much a people focus for this week, Aries. I also feel that with the sun and the moon there may be some issues with parents, particularly because the tree is there below the sun, and that signifies family relations. It can also mean that one of your parents, or somebody who stood in the shoes of your parents, is having a hard time right now, and it may be that it's decision time on how to help them deal with it. The staircase represents decision and being torn between two things. It could mean that, you have to make a decision to either be with your mother or father, such as, in the case of them deciding to live in separate homes or go on separate vacations, etc. But it could also mean that there is some issue with respect to, just generally overcoming some kind of an obstacle. I do feel, though, that the staircase could represent decisions to be made in all areas of life, not just family areas. And with this staircase being placed above a letter, it may be that you receive news of some kind that will then force you into a decision-making mode. This decision could be about family issues. It could be about success and growth and, schooling. It could be about, the future, building something for the future, building a new business, building a new area of life for yourself, perhaps familiar relationships. Perhaps you're thinking about expanding your family, or, family tree is being expanded here. So, perhaps, with the sun illuminating all of that, it's all very good. For those of you who have had, work in astrology, for example, or divination, or any kind of metaphysical work, energy work, healing, energy healing, those things may very well be at a little bit of a slow down pace this week, but it's okay. At least here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's August. It's, vacation time. So don't be discouraged by that, because I do see that success is coming to you. I also feel that for businesses and work generally, that if you're waiting to get a job or you're waiting to get a business contract, I do feel things could be very good this week, but for some of you, you may just have to wait a little while and get through it. Overall, not a bad week, Aries. Take care.